Hey, it's Adam Grant from Work Life, a podcast from TED. This episode is brought to you by Freshworks. Freshworks believes that complexity is the enemy of efficiency. So stop wrestling with bloated, expensive service software that takes forever to implement an update, where ROI is someday, not today. You've been overcharged and underserved for way too long. Uncomplicate with Freshservice for IT and Freshdesk for customer support. And with Freshworks AI-assisted service software, you'll work smarter, not harder. Freshworks uncomplicates. Learn more at freshworks.com.
Hey, this is Paige DeSorbo from Giggly Squad, and this episode is sponsored by Nordstrom. The Nordstrom Anniversary Sale is on now. Shop new arrivals on sale for a limited time from Madewell, Bobbi Brown, New Balance, and more. You'll find tons of deals under $100 on summer-ready fits, plus beauty exclusives from your favorite brands. Nordstrom makes shopping easy in stores at Nordstrom.com and on their app. Hurry, prices go up August 4th.
This is the Daily Tech News for Thursday, July 31st, the last day of July 2025. We tell you what you need to know, follow up in the context of those stories, and help each other understand.
Today, Dr. Niki tells us about using computer models for discovering archaeological history, and the de minimis exception is going away for everyone.
That's right. I'm Jason Howell.
I'm Huyen.
Let's start with what you need to know with the big story. There were a few big stories this week. We'll talk about the rest of them in the briefs. But the U.S. presidential administration has issued an executive order eliminating the de minimis trade exemption for packages worth $800 or less from all countries. This actually goes into effect, not immediately. It goes into effect August 29th. So you've still got a little less than a month if you want to cram some shipments in or something. The loophole previously allowed low value goods to enter the U.S. duty free. So, if there was a tariff on a country, if it was less than $800, it wouldn't apply to that. That's going away. This change effectively means all imported goods are going to be subject to country-based tariffs, regardless of their value. Now, in May, you may be wondering, wait a minute, didn't this already happen? Well, yes, it sort of did. The administration had banned de minimis shipments from China and Hong Kong. The change now is that this expands globally, regardless of the country of origin. So it's kind of going away for good. Shares of PDD Holdings, they're the owner of Temu, dropped after the announcement. And you might be asking, like I was, why would Temu shares drop after the announcement of this if things went into effect in May for China and Hong Kong? Well, Temu, yes, is based in China, but still benefited by routing some of those shipments through other countries, using global suppliers to get around those tariffs. Now that avenue is going to be blocked for good. Huyen and AliExpress also facing a similar challenge there. Amazon shares dropped after the announcement as well. Amazon, has this happening all over the map, but also has a low-cost storefront called Howell that relies directly from shipments coming from places like China. Now, the change is also, and I think this is maybe something that we can talk about a little bit, going to impact independent sellers in marketplaces like Etsy, eBay, Amazon Global, who fulfill their orders from warehouses outside of the U.S. So, it's not just the companies that I think often come up in conversations around this de minimis thing, like Temu, Huyen, AliExpress, those places. It's also little mom and pop outfits. And I'm going to be really curious to see how this impacts storefronts like Etsy, because a lot of people, they make their business on Etsy. And I don't know. I'm curious about that.
It's crazy because I think I've focused so much with Amazon in the story just because I feel like most of the things that I bought off of Amazon come from China, for better, for worse. But that I really think that was an important point to bring up is that, Etsy, eBay, and looking back, I've bought so many things, especially sellers on Etsy and eBay, just again, individual people, as you said, just people just trying to start their own small business. I think the majority of the things that I've bought off of eBay and Etsy are from Europe, are from Japan. And I can't even imagine how this is going to impact that and what that could do, especially, and I know a lot of times people try to buy local. I think it's just, obviously it's always cheaper to kind of buy more in your area. But I do believe that there have been some sellers that I've gotten a really nice note from them saying, hey, really cool to see like someone in America buying my things. And obviously, like, customers and transactions are important. So yeah, that's a really great point to make. To make. I have no idea whether this is going to just make people kind of contract, their markets and the regions they serve because of this, like out, like basically ever but here, or what. But it definitely is going to be. It feels like it's going to be a shift if this keeps up. I don't know.
Yeah, and the big changes to how this stuff, a lot of like independent makers, creators, entrepreneurs who have an idea for a product or something that they want to explore. And, they're able to do that largely because there is kind of an affordable supply chain, let's say, in tapping into these, places outside of the U.S. to get lower cost goods. And of course, the import, tax not applying and everything. When you're an independent and you're creating these products like that, every penny counts. And so someone, I mean, I think ultimately this means that there will be not insignificant percentage of entrepreneurs on sites like eBay and Etsy who are going to be so impacted by the changing dynamics here that it makes their business not viable. And I mean, I guess that's just part of the game, right? Like this is just how business works on a long enough timeline. You're going to encounter shifting market issues and stuff, but it certainly goes counter to what I feel like we've seen for a very long time, which is that they can be a rich, vibrant place to go for some really interesting, unique, not the kind of stuff that you see on a Best Buy shelf, but something that's really specific and unique that I don't want that kind of uniqueness to go away. And I hope that it doesn't.
No, I really love that point too. Like, as you said, like if you're a small manufacturer or a small entrepreneur with a big idea, you rely on this current, on the soon to be passed, I guess, setup of this de minimis exception and being able to, get your goods or get your kind of products, your prototypes made cheaply and being able to like actually distribute them. Because not everybody can afford, very custom, high price items. Like part of that is being able to be accessible to people through your pricing. Actually, on that point, one of the things that I've seen is like, so I'm sorry, I'm a fitness nut, but like, there are a lot of niches in fitness. I think that's kind of obvious. And I think there was one gal that I actually met at a kettlebell conference. Yes, I went to one. It's not really a conference, but something like
a whole
that.
Conference on kettlebells?
It was a whole event on kettlebells.
Wow.
But there were like alternate forms of fitness as well. And this one lady is part of like, it's called flow rope. It's like jump rope without the jumping, which I know sounds weird, but it's almost like, kind of like if you imagine like think of like nunchuck movements where you kind of are like whipping it around and like kind of like that but with a simple jump rope. And she makes all of her ropes by herself. Like she gets all the raw materials in predominantly from China and she makes them herself. She has her own warehouse, she assembles them, she handles marketing, everything by herself. And she has been very adamant for months now since the tariff announcements that, okay, look, in order for me to make my business viable, I need to either raise prices or that's it. And so I think that's just one small example from my personal life of like, yeah, like who would, how would that business happen? It's such a niche thing. I had to like explain it in an interesting way. And like, just the idea that people like her would not have an opportunity to take an idea and reach people, be able to actually make her business a reality, it's kind of upsetting. And I don't know what that will mean in the future. Does that just mean that we're going to end up kind of being siloed in a sense? I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, or does it mean that when things adjust and the pricing, corrects, and I mean, I don't know if it's safe to call it correcting, settles into the new normal. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Do people adjust from a spending perspective? Do consumers accept the fact that this thing that used to cost me $20 now costs me $40? That's just the way it is. That's the way that it's been for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And so does it still matter to me enough to spend $40 on it because I like the thing? But it stinks to have to do that, especially at a time when I feel like everyone I know is complaining about the rising costs of the world,
yes.
Of everything.
Yeah.
And so this, doesn't help that, but it is what it is, I guess. It's just how it all rolls.
I did have one thought that maybe out of this, part of this might be, and I've already mentioned this, like the commoditization of certain things on like places like Amazon, like, because we're smartphone people, we talk about smartphones all the time, accessories and the accessory systems. And I think that there are certain parts of our lives that have become so commoditized. We're used to disposing of things very easily, like especially since with the tech churn where I buy a device, I buy all the accessories for it, all of those things get, are out of date by like the next generation. So I end up kind of just either hanging on to them because I don't want to throw them away or disposing of a lot of things. And that's because things have become like a certain kind of classes of product have become so cheap. We're used to treating them like commodities.
Yeah.
I don't think this is a net positive for the world, but I wonder if anything, maybe the silver lining is that maybe, as you said, I hate saying this because we just had this conversation, but like that there are certain classes of things that maybe we need to think more carefully of, or maybe this will maybe tune us as human beings to maybe be more, as you said, like, I don't want people to not have, be able to kind of create new products and new ideas. That's really important, but that we need to be kind of more, I don't know, create them more sustainable ways. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I think that's a really fair point. This probably, I'm guessing, I mean, not being an economics major,
nope, me neither.
Full disclosure, but I'm imagining that probably has some sort of an impact on that. If things aren't so ridiculously low priced that they do become expendable and commoditized and everything, maybe that minimizes certain things. As far as the economic or the environmental impact is concerned. I hadn't thought of that. Good point.
Okay. Well, do you know what is not be affected by the de minimis exception is us, because DTNS is made possible by you, the listener. We want to take the time to thank Jim Hart, Mike Akins, Norm Fazekas, and welcome new patrons, Jacob, Kwakwi, Robinson, and Jonathan.
Yeah. Woo! And one more because there's 4 new patrons.
Picture this. You're in the garage, hands covered in grease, just finished up tuning your engine with a part you found on eBay, and you realize, you know what? I could also use new brakes. So where do you go next? Back to eBay. You can find anything there. It's unreal. Wipers, headlights, even cold air intakes. It's all there. And you've got eBay Guaranteed Fit. You order a part, and if it doesn't fit, send it back. Simple as that. Look, DIY fixes can be major. Doesn't matter if it's just maintenance or a major mod. You got it, especially when things are guaranteed to fit. So when you dive into your next car project, start with eBay. All the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. eBay. Things people love.
There's more we need to know today. Let's get right to the briefs.
All right. Well, Microsoft's earnings this week were strong, placing the company in the $4 trillion market cap club, along with Nvidia. Microsoft's Azure cloud business was a big driver of the company's revenue growth, seeing a 34% bump from last year. Microsoft revealed that Xbox console sales dropped by 22%, even while gaming revenue rose by 10%, thanks to strong growth in Game Pass subscriptions and first-party titles. Players appear to be spending less on hardware and more on digital content, cloud streaming, and new game releases.
Yeah, I guess, at times when people are watching what they're spending and everything, it's just a little bit easier to buy that subscription and not buy a brand new console. I don't know. How long has Microsoft's latest console been out?
Oh my gosh.
Not being a gaming console nerd guy.
I'm not a Microsoft person either. We're so sorry, Microsoft. It's been a while.
Well, I guess what I'm thinking without having done the proper research on this is, this is not very directly impacted by the Nintendo Switch 2 release, because that literally just came out. And this is more, this requires more time, more context for what Microsoft's talking about here. But if the console hasn't been out, maybe has been out for long enough, then that kind of makes sense to me. Things are going to slow down there. The people who already have the consoles are going to invest more in the things like subscriptions, in the things like games to power the console they already have. Maybe it speaks to a lack of interest or, passion driving the current Xbox console generation compared to what PlayStation has and Nintendo Switch has. All that to say, I'm not a deep games knowledge guy, so you can write into DTNS and complain about my thoughts on that.
a quick Google search is that the latest Xbox hardware release was the Xbox Series X and Xbox Series S, which both launched in 2020.
Okay, so they have been around for long enough. I mean, that's 5 years. You know,
but I think, to be fair, yeah. I mean, I guess just the not elephant in the room, this current economic situation with probably playing into it as well. I mean, because that was 2020. That seems to jive with other just general, again, not an economist, general trends of things like, expensive, like large purchases, like a hardware console. Yeah, maybe just trends as we're seeing in the gaming industry of a real focus on like cloud gaming.
To
more kind of, I guess, keep people purchasing, but not, in these kind of large like investments, like every 2, 3, 4, 5 years. I don't know what the scale is, but yeah.
Interesting. Well, unrelated to gaming and earnings, but still related to Microsoft, the UK's Competition and Markets Authority finds that Microsoft's software licensing practices are harming, they say, cloud competition. They say that is actually driving up costs for rivals like Amazon and Google. Poor Amazon, poor Google. In the UK market, highlighting Microsoft's, quote, significant market power. The CMA recommends further requirements on big tech cloud providers to make pricing fairer and to give consumers more choice. Now, Microsoft is pushing back. They say the CMA has missed the mark once again, pointing to its failure to notice Google's increasing cloud presence in the UK as a solid competitor in the space.
All right. Well, Meta's Q2 earnings topped expectations while detailing heavy investments in AI infrastructure that coincides with the company's full court press on building its super intelligence lab vision. CEO Mark Zuckerberg first shared a blog post ahead of yesterday's earnings call and then expanded on his thoughts during the call, stating his belief that glasses are the ideal form factor for the future of AI. He said, quote, I think in the future, if you don't have glasses that have AI or some way to interact with AI, I think you're probably going to be at a pretty significant cognitive disadvantage compared to other people. Meta's Ray-Ban collaboration has tripled in revenue over the past year, according to EssilorLuxottica, who makes the smart glasses for Meta.
Zuckerberg loves his glasses. I don't disagree with him. I mean, to a certain degree, I don't disagree with him. I think that the combination of where things are heading with AI, with artificial intelligence, and the potential of having an always on you, always contextualizing your environment device, if people want that or not, either if people want to be wearing it or if people want to be faced with it when they run into you, which is, not more than a couple of times happened while I've worn the Oakley Meta glasses where people are like, I don't know, it's kind of creepy. Like as I'm talking to you, there's a camera staring at me. There's still a ways to go for all this stuff, but I agree with him from the perspective that those two technologies really are very complementary. And so there's a lot of potential there. I feel like we have to look a ways down the road to potentially find a pathway in our future where the majority of people are wearing these things. I'm not saying it's not going to happen, but I'm saying we're probably as far away from that as we are from super intelligence, to be honest.
No, I totally agree with you. And I think I think I'm a person who tends to be very critical and maybe even cynical of things like this being said. But I think you're right. If you just gave me that statement, like I cannot disagree with that statement, like just in general, because that's just how tech works, right? Like as soon as something gets kind of like broad adoption, it becomes like just like smartphones. Like this, in a sense, is nothing like smartphones. Not to say that we shouldn't be unplugging more, and we don't do a lot of things without our phones, but a lot of our society has adapted to the assumption that most people have a smartphone because things are like QR code based, or you do this and you do everything is like digital, like in our palm. So I think I agree with you. I generally don't disagree with the statement, but yes, I think you're 100% right. There is a big gap in a lot of different factors between society today and this future society where we're all like functioning in a functional way with AI glasses that are recording and or just sensing everything all the time.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Zuckerberg continues to have a very utopian view, as a lot of big tech leaders that are really, really pushing the AI narrative. Very utopian view, or at least how they communicate it is very utopian. And,
yes,
I don't think it takes a lot to look at it through a scrutinizing lens and go, okay, hold up there, buckaroo. Like, I get where you're coming from, and you have a lot to benefit and, from coming from that place, but the rest of us have to live with it. And I don't know that everybody is very comfortable living with it, at least at this stage. At least the people that I speak to that have nothing to do with, technology in their regular daily lives, they're the ones that tell me like, I don't, I'm not there yet. Apple, Google, Amazon, Anthropic, and OpenAI have all joined with federal officials and major U.S. health systems in an agreement to make fragmented health data more useful to patients and providers. Now, the alliance, which was announced at a White House event yesterday, is apparently all about breaking down barriers in digital health so people can access, use, and share their health information, which we can all agree has become incredibly fragmented and complicated, right? It's there. Even when I go into like Kaiser and there needs to be some sort of like health data sharing or whatever, it's always more complicated than it feels like it needs to be. The agreement here doesn't force companies to hand over trade sensitive data, at least not that I could find out. Instead, it invites tech firms who, by the way, voluntarily chose to take part to help set standards and improve product development under the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services framework. So to my understanding, this isn't about tech companies agreeing to share patient data. This isn't like, yay, give us all your data and we're going to improve our models, blah, 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 which I think a lot of people, their immediate reaction to this is you're seriously going to give these companies all this information. Rather, my understanding is it's agreeing to meet an interoperability framework that hopefully gives patients more choice to share data through it in a better way than what we have right now, which is clearly not great. So
I can't. Yeah. I mean, of course, all the caveats aside about like, making sure that whatever standards they have are security and privacy concern. But yes, I totally agree. This is like not different than the argument over RCS or even like, for example, things like, I don't know, even like passkeys or even like say like things like IoT protocols like Matter and stuff where, okay, we're not expecting you to share trade secrets or share proprietary information. We just want a standard protocol so that people have options and that we can kind of, I don't know, make the quality of life and these products better overall, like high tide lifts all boats. So from that perspective, it makes sense. Just the idea of it makes sense.
Yeah. Now, the devil could be in the details.
Details.
And, if you go on to Tech Meme, you see a lot of response to this. It's like, are you kidding? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm not saying that there aren't reasons to be concerned or to look deeper. But I am also saying that like the health data and sharing and the way health records have been done in the past, I've always felt like there's got to be a better way than the way it is, because this is just ridiculous. And so, yay, if you're working towards a better way, I'm for at least exploring it. So there you go.
100%. All right, well, Alpha Earth Foundations by Google DeepMind is a new digital mapping platform that uses information from satellites, radar, LiDAR, and climate simulations to create detailed summaries of every 10 by 10 meter patch of land on Earth. 10 by 10 meter patch. This project creates the largest satellite embedding data set yet, and it lets partners like the United Nations and conservation groups track land use, detect deforestation, and monitor agriculture or ecosystem changes with speed and a 24% accuracy improvement over prior models.
I mean, this just strikes me like there are certain AI efforts that come along that I'm like, oh, this is the perfect use for AI. Not everything is a perfect use for AI, right? Not everything is made immediately better with AI in the mix. But this just strikes me as one of those things like, all right, I bet this leads to some really positive outcomes at a time when climate is hurting. And so that can't be a bad thing, in my opinion.
No, I'm with you. I'm all for this. Please, more of this.
Yeah. Samsung announced during its earnings call, as you can tell, there were a lot of earnings in the last 24 hours, announced during its earnings call that the Exynos 2600, that's Samsung Foundry's next mobile chip, officially announced, will be its first that's made on its 2-nanometer process. So Samsung, this is going to give Samsung probably a leg up over its rivals, of course, Qualcomm, MediaTek. They're expected to stick to 3-nanometer process for their upcoming chips. That could change, but that's what they're expected to do. The Exynos 2600 on the 2-nanometer process is currently rumored to arrive in the Galaxy S26 series early next year. That's expected to also feature a 10-core CPU and the Eclipse 960 GPU to the tune of a 15% improvement over Qualcomm's current flagship chip. And this is, this is kind of a big deal because if this happens as expected, the S26 series, at least here in the US, would have their Exynos chip, right? Samsung has stuck with Qualcomm chips here in the US the past few years. Mostly, the only phone that has bucked that trend is the recently released Z Flip 7 that's running the Exynos 2500 chip. So it kind of signals Samsung dips its toe in and out of Exynos in the US, and it kind of seems like with the 2-nanometer process, like I'm super curious to see what happens with the S26 series if it's going to be packing this chip.
I got a very vivid image of like a Samsung dipping their toe like in the ocean, out of the ocean, in the ocean. Oh, it's too cold, but no, just like, yep.
Sorry, I can do that. I can do live sound effects on the show. There you go.
Perfect. Thank you for the Foley.
You're welcome.
Showrunner, a startup backed by Amazon, is launching a platform for creating custom TV shows and episodes instantly using AI and natural language prompts. Users can describe an idea, upload a selfie, and star in their own AI animated show of differing genres like sitcoms or action series. Early users will have access to AI capabilities that script, animate, and voice content automatically. Branded experiences are also part of the long-term vision for the platform. Showrunner had previously captured buzz with an AI-generated South Park episode that went viral in 2023.
I vaguely remember, I do remember watching the South Park thing, and South Park's a very specific kind of animation, easy to do. I mean, I've for quite a while now just assumed, and I don't think it's a novel thought, but I've assumed that this is not necessarily, I'm not saying it's a good idea that our content will be created on the fly by us just having ideas. But I have believed for a while that someone would come along to be like, you know what? You want to watch a show about, a watering can that wakes up and drives off a cliff with your vehicle or something? You could think it and just say, make me a 20-minute sitcom about this, and that it would do it. And I'm not even saying that it would do it well, but you got to start somewhere. I'm not at all surprised that Showrunner is doing something like this. I'd be really curious to see kind of the quality of it, especially because AI generated video gives a lot of people the squirmies. So
yeah, was there a sign? Not the same thing at all, and I don't think it was with Showrunner, but there was a Seinfeld episode too that someone generated, or I could be wrong about that. Or something.
Yes, there was something along those lines. I don't know if that was Showrunner.
I don't think it was, but that idea,
and it was like an ongoing kind of thing that you could tune into live.
Yeah. And it was
right or something. It was like a 24-hour
something.
Yeah. I'm having some flashbacks right now of this stuff happening a few years ago. Okay. And none of it was great.
No.
I remember, there was a lot of silence and a lot of disjointed dialogue that it was funny because it was so bad.
Yeah. But it was it was just good enough too that it wasn't, just someone trying to stick figures. I wonder if there's just going to be a whole brand of kind of video, which is so good, but also somehow so bad that, it's like both too real. Not enough.
Probably that might be the kind of subhead for Showrunner on the website. So bad. It's good. Uber Eats, speaking of bad, I don't know about this one, is introducing, there's some good stuff in here, introducing new AI powered features to its platform, including generative AI tools for creating descriptions for menu items. Okay, that makes sense to me. Summarizing consumer or customer reviews. That also makes sense to me. Another feature allows establishments to enhance their food photos with AI tools for improving lighting, resolution, both of those things. I'm like, okay, all right. And even replating or expanding upon the item shown in the original image. And I don't know about that one. Customers are now able to upload food pictures that they've taken of their food when they rate their orders. They kind of share what their food looked like when they got it. And then there's a new live order chat feature that lets restaurants message customers directly in order to confirm things like replacements. They can clarify dietary needs, address whatever special requests they might have before the food is picked up. And customers can only reply after merchants initiate contact. So it doesn't work in the other direction. But the generative AI to change the look of the food in the images, I don't know. There's something about that rubs me the wrong way.
It rubs me the wrong way. I very much rely on pictures of food to decide whether I'm going to order or not. And could you imagine that I want to order out like a bao, the buns, right? I open it up and the AI generates like Wagyu Chateaubriand covered in gold leaf when I open the bao, and then I order it and I get it, and it's just a regular bao is delicious, but could you imagine? Like, I know that's probably not what it does. But that's all I can think of is like that level of like, I guess, improving on reality. And then but you still have to deal with the reality when you get your delivery.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much sold in that situation. So often when we're looking at our phone and we're considering what we're going to order, so much is conveyed by the photo of the food that you see. I guess you just can't trust anything on the internet anymore. Nope. I guess that's just the way it is. But like, I want to look at the food and know like, oh, that was actually a dish they made someday.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that works out.
All right. Well, those are the essentials for today. Let's dive a little deeper.
AI isn't just for hallucinating bad images of food or bad answers to your question about bands from the 1970s. Computer models can also usefully find history, like discover history. And we're not kidding about this. Dr. Niki has the scoop.
Dr. Niki, welcome back.
Thanks for having me. Let's talk about archaeology.
Yeah. What did these archaeological students do?
Yeah, we don't get to talk about archaeology a lot on DTNS, so I'm excited about this one. So later this May, some students from Utrecht University in the Netherlands used a computer model to discover a Roman camp outside what we previously thought to be the most northern limit of the Roman Empire. So if you're an archaeologist, this is pretty exciting.
Yeah. And if you're someone who thinks about the Roman Empire.
Yeah. If you think about the Roman Empire every day, you've got a computer model just for you. This camp was found about 25 kilometers north of the Rhine, which is where we thought previously the border of the empire was.
Oh, okay. Now, I have heard stories, and we may have even talked about them before, about people using like satellite imagery to identify patterns, but that's not exactly what happened here. What was the tech they used?
Yeah, I mean, I have friends who in their spare time sit on Google Maps and look around for things that may look like archaeological sites and have been successful. I mean, in Europe, they're everywhere. But that's not what they did here. So they built this computer model that combined a few different sources of data. First of all, just elevation maps of the area combined with LiDAR. So if you're not familiar with LiDAR, it's a remote sensing tech that basically emits laser pulses down to the ground and measures how long it takes for them to bounce back.
The Waymo autonomous vehicles use LiDAR. Tesla famously does not like to use LiDAR, but yeah, you may have heard of it.
Yes, I was going to say, like, it's not only used for building maps, but yeah, a lot of, we once covered an autonomous boat that used LiDAR. That's
I forgot about that one.
So in this way, you can form a 3D map of the surface. And then they combine it with these elevation maps that we already knew about, but also with some archaeological data. So the typical shape of a Roman camp, especially a traveling camp, which is what they were looking for, is rectangular, like a playing card. So that's a very definitive shape, a distinctive shape. And then also how far an army could march in a day to kind of get the maximum area that they would be looking around.
Yeah, I thought that's one of the most fascinating parts of this story is that they didn't find the camp using the tech. They narrowed down where it should be, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah, so basically there's almost nothing visible on the surface. Like if you would have gone over this in Google Maps, you probably wouldn't have seen anything. But the tech was like, okay, it's very likely, in this area. And So eventually they got out there and they investigated with a metal detector, and they were able to pull up traces of ancient walls, a moat, and different entrances. And then they did some trial excavations and they unearthed a few artifacts, but way fewer than they thought would be there, which included some pieces of armor. So they were able to date it to the 2nd century. And it was only the 5th camp like this that they found in the Netherlands. So compared to like hundreds in Germany, a few, like a bit further south. So good job on the student.
Yeah, right? Like that. Right? That's fantastic to be able to say, well, should be there. Let's go look.
Yeah.
And do a little digging.
I don't know if they excluded all the stories where they looked and there was nothing there, but
that's fine if they did. It's still impressive. Yeah. But it would be more impressive if it was one and done. Sure. Yeah. But that's pretty cool because it is an example of using computer models to deduce something that turns out to be correct. So
this is always, I think, one of the ways where models are really helpful is just giving you extra suggestions. Where I'm staying right now near Mesa Verde National Park, there's tons of archaeological sites, and the archaeological center here uses LiDAR all the time, even just to map them or to map where artifacts are and things like that. So we don't hear about it a lot, but this kind of tech does get used. And I think with this type of modeling, might find more and more things. It's exciting.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, Dr. Niki, thanks as always for bringing this to us, helping us understand it. If people want to find out more of what you do, where should they go?
People can dig into my science at NicoleAckermans.com, which is where this will get posted. And I'm at the same handle on Blue Sky.
Yes. Go find the many layers of your scientific information.
All right. Well, if you have feedback about anything that gets brought up on the show, you can get in touch with us on the socials at DTNS Show on X, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, and Mastodon. For TikTok and YouTube, you can find us at Daily Tech News Show.
Hey, this is Paige DeSorbo from Giggly Squad, and this episode is sponsored by Nordstrom. The Nordstrom Anniversary Sale is on now. Shop new arrivals on sale for a limited time from Madewell, Bobbi Brown, New Balance, and more. You'll find tons of deals under $100 on summer-ready fits, plus beauty exclusives from your favorite brands. Nordstrom makes shopping easy in stores at Nordstrom.com and on their app. Hurry, prices go up August 4th.
We end every episode of DTNS with some shared wisdom. Yesterday, Tom accidentally left out some important stuff, some important words when he wrote that Microsoft Authenticator will stop working on August 1st. And apparently, we got a lot of emails. Jason F's email was the nicest one.
All right, Jason F wrote, just wanted to let you know that a small detail was missed when y'all reported on Microsoft Authenticator yesterday. The way it was reported and is written in your show notes is that, quote, Microsoft Authenticator will stop working in August. But the linked AP article and all the freaking notifications the app has been sending me is password autofill in Microsoft Authenticator will stop working in August. The Authenticator itself will keep working as it's used with Hotmail, Outlook.com, and MS35 Enterprise Authentication, TOPTs, and authorization push notifications. Thanks for all the work. Thanks for the work y'all do, Jason. And we should note that passkey storage will also continue to work. Thanks, Jason F.
Thank you, Jason F. and all the others for keeping us honest. Hey, you know what? We are not robots. We are human
not
beings,
AI.
after all. That's right. Not yet, anyways. What are you thinking about? If you have any insight into a story or a correction, hey, we welcome it. Share it with us. Feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com. Thanks to you, Jason, for your writing in. Thanks to Dr. Niki. Thanks to you, Huyen, for being here with me and contributing to today's show. Thank you for being along for Daily Tech News Show. You can keep us in business by becoming a patron. And it's simple. Patreon.com/DTNS. We'll see you tomorrow.
The DTNS family of podcasts, helping each other understand.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
Did you know Tide has been upgraded to provide an even better clean in cold water? Tide is specifically designed to fight any stain you throw at it, even in cold. Butter? Yep. Chocolate ice cream? Sure thing. Barbecue sauce? Tide's got you covered. You don't need to use warm water. Additionally, Tide Pods let you confidently fight tough stains with new Coldzyme technology. Just remember, if it's gotta be clean, it's gotta be Tide.
Walmart Business is in the business of helping your business. Regardless of whether you're building bridges, building spreadsheets, or building lesson plans. Ooh, that looks fun. Walmart Business can help save you time, money, and hassle so you can focus on what you're building instead of what your supply closet is missing. In short, we take care of business so you can do more with yours. We're the Walmart you love, now for your business. Learn more at business.walmart.com.